how I would become a DevOps engineer if I was starting as a beginner. Now, you probably don't know me, so let me introduce myself. Hi, this is Shubham, and I work as a senior staff engineer in the platform engineering team for a Australia based company. I work remotely. I specialize in DevOps engineering and development. Now, when it comes to DevOps engineering, I have 8 years of experience, but if I would start as a beginner, what would be the roadmap? Now, winter is here and 2025 is also here, just around the corner. So, here is a roadmap for you all, which I would use to become a DevOps engineer. Now, hey, this roadmap looks very shiny, very colorful. That's so nice. Wait for me to open it. When I'll open the container orchestration CI/CD, then you will understand. But let's not jump directly to Kubernetes. That's what most of people do. Let's start with the basics. So if I was starting as a DevOps engineer, so this is the DevOps engineer, if I was starting, I would understand what are the DevOps terms, why I am learning DevOps, what are the DevOps terms. So let me open this roadmap for you. Okay, so I would first ask myself, what is DevOps? So everyone says that DevOps is a mindset, DevOps is a culture. Now, if I have all the culture, if I have all the mindset, will I get lakhs and crores of salary? No. That's why you need this roadmap, entire roadmap. You need all those tools. You even need real world test cases. So in order to become a DevOps engineer. So a DevOps engineer is someone who basically automates stuff, makes sure that the developers who are writing code, their code is deployed to the production environment in the most efficient manner with all the tools and all the things in place. Now, is DevOps good for me? Many people ask that, hey, I don't know coding. Should I do DevOps? Now, the straight away answer is no. If you don't love coding or if you don't love technology, DevOps is not for you. It's as simple as, for example, if you don't know coding, it would hardly take you a week or two to understand how to write code, and then you'll start writing code. In DevOps, you even need some kind of programming and scripting, which is Python shell scripting. So is DevOps good for me? You should ask yourself, should I go into this career? Because it involves learning a lot of tools like Kubernetes, Terraform. I'll mention them, but you should first ask, is it really good for me? Now, how to understand if it is good for you? Trust me, I was someone who was not very expert in coding. I'm still not an expert in coding, but I know how to write syntax and I know how to make things work. That's the only thing required for a DevOps engineer. If you can write code, if you can just automate some things, can it be, backup of files or anything? If you can do that level of coding as well, even that is fine. You don't have to be a developer. Developer builds logics, DSA, and all those. DSA is not required for DevOps. You just need to know basic syntax, how to write a code, how to run a program. That's it. Okay. Terms like infrastructure, scaling, monitoring, automation. If these terms excites you, then just watch towards the end of the video. There's a big surprise for you. Okay, so first, if I know the DevOps terms, I'll definitely research more about it and see if it's good for me. And once I know what is DevOps, then only I'll go into DevOps. Now, once I know that, okay, DevOps is for me, then I will be going into programming and scripting. So when I say programming and scripting, you have two main choices. We have Python programming or Go programming. So I would have chosen Python programming. Why? Because Go language, which is very rich, it is also used in DevOps, but it is used for open source contributions, CNCF, which is Cloud Native Computing Foundation. If you want to contribute to all those projects, then Golang is very good. But if you want to stick to being a friendly neighborhood DevOps engineer, Python is the best choice because it allows you to do automation stuff and so many things. So what all things you should be knowing in Python? If you open this, you should be knowing the basics and intermediate, not more than that. You should not become an expert in Python. So basics, loops, conditions, function, how to write classes, how to do exception handling, file handling, that's more than enough. Intermediate, if you know how to do logging in Python, how to create small apps like Flask apps, how to use Boto3 libraries or connect with cloud, then you're good to go. That's all the Python that you need. Really, trust me. Now, when I say trust me, it doesn't say, I hope it doesn't feel like a scam, trust me and all. So think of it like I have done this. I have been in the industry. I have taught more than thousands and thousands of people. I have over 1 lakh following. You can see the award from YouTube. So once I'm done with Python programming, I would have gone to shell scripting, which is, again, very interesting way of automating things, shell scripts. I would have learned basics, automating backups, copying code and files, user management, intermediate, which simply means I need to have good understanding of Linux as well. Okay, so shell scripting does not come easy. If you have good understanding of Linux, if you have good understanding of programming, then only you will, you'll enjoy the scripting and programming. As a DevOps engineer, networking is also very important. So when we talk about networking has many things. OSI model, network protocols, subnet, SSH, SSL, network troubleshooting, DNS. All these things are generally taught in college. So if you go to your BTech computer science or something, you must have learned all these things. But there are many people who have not done college, or maybe are just in college, or maybe from non-IT background, non-technical background. For them, learning this is not very difficult. It would hardly take a week or two to master all these things. Obviously, it takes years and years of experience to become a master. But if you genuinely give a week or so, networking is very easy to learn. Okay. So once I would have done, completed my networking fundamentals, I would then go to cloud services. Now, cloud services brings this question, hey, which cloud? AWS, Azure or GCP? Now, just understand this. AWS Cloud Services is a platform that gives you cloud services. Azure is a platform by Microsoft that gives you cloud services. GCP, Google Cloud Platform, is a platform by Google that gives you cloud services. Everyone is giving you cloud services. Even if you master any of them, let's say you take AWS, as you are, you're someone who wants to see the best cloud in the market, which is the market leader, then you go for AWS. If you want to do B2B, if you are targeting a company who generally are a business to business company, they generally use Azure. GCP, very few people do, and that is why GCP is most high in demand. But what to learn inside this? So if you open this, compute servers, how computation happens on virtual machines, database servers, VPCs, networking, managed services like managed Kubernetes, managed Docker containers, IAM, role-based access control. These are a few things that you should be knowing in cloud. Okay, so once you understand how cloud works, any cloud you pick, be it Azure, AWS, GCP, you should be fine. You should be good to go. Now the question comes, which certification to do if I want to master this? So if you are going for an AWS route, so AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner as a beginner, AWS Solutions Architect as a senior person. For Azure, it's Azure Fundamentals, Azure DevOps, and so on. Okay, GCP, I am a person who has not explored GCP that much, but I am an AWS community builder. I have spoken in AWS events, so I know about AWS. Okay. Now let's talk about Linux operating system. Something that you should never ever miss. If someone is saying that, hey, I use a Windows machine, let me directly jump to Kubernetes or Docker. Big no. Master Linux operating system. I would highly recommend, if I was starting as a DevOps engineer, I would install a Linux operating system in my own machine. Linux or maybe Mac OS. So what to learn in Linux? Let's open up. So how to set up Linux machine, how to set up a virtual machine, how to use command line interface, which is CLI. What is file system? What is storage? How to manage user permissions? What is package management? How to install packages? What is virtualization? How to use tools like awk, sed, grep, find. All these things, if you master in Linux, you're very good to go, because Linux is the base of how you use the command line interface. So later on, you will be using Docker in command line interface, Kubernetes in command line interface. So generally all the tools, all the open source tools that you use, you will have its command line interface. So Linux operating system is very, very important. Now, once you master Linux operating system, it's very important to understand how applications are built. Now, if applications are built via a source code management, which is basically your GitHub, so you can have a good understanding about how GitHub works as well. But if you want to build an application, you need some tools like Docker, or it can be Maven, it can be Podman, but the industry leader is Docker. So I would have personally have invested a lot of time in learning Docker. But what in Docker? I should be knowing how to write Docker files, how to create Docker images, how to create containers, how to manage volumes, how to manage networks, how to make a Docker compose file, what is Docker Scout, what is Docker init. Now you must be thinking that, hey, all this sounds so overwhelming. How to learn all these things? So I conduct live classes as well. So on Train with Shubham, I teach all these things live, and there's a live cohort happening very soon, which is 25th of November, which is very, very soon. And we have weekday batches starting as well. It would be an English live cohort, a batch full of students, a DevOps engineering batch, who will be joining me live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. IST. This will be a 3-month long course. If you want to know more about syllabus, you can definitely check. All the links are in the description. Now let's continue. That this might definitely be overwhelming. That, hey, Docker, so many things to learn and so on. Wait, now let's understand how Kubernetes works. So once you know how to use Docker, the next step is Kubernetes. Kubernetes has a lot of prerequisite. Kubernetes has a prerequisite of Docker. Docker has a prerequisite of Linux. Linux has prerequisite of some kind of, programming and mind training of how DevOps things works. So you should not be directly jumping to Kubernetes. Learn the basics, learn the fundamentals, then only go for advanced stuff like Kubernetes. But what in Kubernetes? If you learn thoroughly about pods, deployment, services, ingress, storages, persistent volumes, network policies, role-based access control, Helm, customize, Istio service mesh, you are good to go. If you know this much of Kubernetes, if you have deployed a few projects, be it a 3-tier architecture applications, you are good to go in Kubernetes. You should also be knowing how to monitor Kubernetes clusters that we will be talking in the coming slide. Okay, so Kubernetes and Docker is one of the most important things when it comes to becoming a DevOps engineer. So I would have given a lot of time to container orchestration. Now, CI/CD pipelines. Everyone talks about these DevOps engineering memes that, hey, I fix pipelines. I'm not a plumber. I'm a DevOps engineer. So I have seen a lot of memes around that. But what exactly in CI/CD pipelines? So CI/CD pipelines has been evolving over a long time. You have a market leader called Jenkins who has been there for a while. It's now getting old, but old is gold. Every company requires Jenkins in their resume. So if you are applying for a DevOps role, and if you don't know Jenkins, they will judge you because Jenkins is one of the most popular CI/CD tool out there. What to learn in Jenkins? Declarative pipelines, shared libraries, tools and plugins, agents, how to send email alerts. All these things you should be very thorough when it comes to Jenkins. But now we have some modern day CI/CD tools as well. For example, GitLab. GitLab CI pipelines, they are very commonly used. GitHub Actions, very commonly used. But as a DevOps engineer, you should be knowing any of them. Any legacy one, which is Jenkins, and any modern one. Even Argo CD is getting a lot of popularity these days because of Kubernetes. Every big company is now using or moving their workloads to Kubernetes. That's why you need a tool that can do Kubernetes deployments. So Argo CD is that tool that helps you do Kubernetes deployments, manage workflows. It even has a CLI of its own that you should be mastering. Now, when it comes to GitHub, if you know GitHub Actions, how webhooks work, how to do SCM, how to make repositories, manage them, create pull requests, you are good to go. And similarly, just like you learned GitHub, you can learn GitLab as well. It's very similar, okay? But when it comes to the CI/CD part, GitLab can also have self-hosted runners, which means you can run GitLab on your own machine, which is amazing. Okay. This is not true in GitHub. In GitHub, you have to use github.com. Okay. So this is CI/CD pipeline. So as a DevOps engineer, you should be very thorough with CI/CD pipeline. So, hey, it's been 10 minutes that we are seeing what all things a DevOps engineer should be knowing, and the list is never ending. Believe me, this list will go on and on. If you see the CNCF landscape, just go to Google and just write landscape CNCF. Just type this and just click on this. Now, boom in the chat if you think that, hey, this page is not loading correctly with all these tools. How will I learn all these tools in this world? The short answer is you don't have to learn all these tools. All you need to do is see which are graduated tools. For example, Argo CD CNCF graduated. Let's say Helm CNCF graduated. And all these things. Kubernetes CNCF graduated. See the graduated tools. And those graduated tools are generally used in your offices, your organizations. So in the classes and also in this roadmap, I generally use graduated tools only. There are tons of tools out there. So I don't have to, keep learning each and every tool. Only graduated CNCF graduated tools are good to go when it comes to open source DevOps tools. Now, once you master CI/CD pipelines, what's next? Next is infrastructure as code. As a DevOps engineer, we have tasks like create a database, create servers, create modular code so that servers can be created and destroyed in just one click. So if you want to do something like that, you need tools like Terraform. So Terraform is an infrastructure as code tool, and inside Terraform you should be knowing how to write Terraform, which is HashiCorp Configuration Language, HCL. Terraform uses HCL. It is a special syntax, but that syntax can be improved, can be minimized using some kind of providers. We have providers for AWS, Docker, Kubernetes, and so on. You can directly import those. It's like plugins, and you can use those plugins and create your infrastructure. It's very, very interesting. And when it comes to reusability of code, you have modules as well. And now if I want to become a senior DevOps engineer and go for some senior roles, I should always know how to manage state. So all these things are topics of Terraform that you should be knowing. Now, if you're learning Terraform, why not learn Ansible as well? So Ansible is a tool, which is a configuration management tool that allows you to basically manage configurations, to apply patches, and remotely connect with hundreds of different machines in a single go. So you can sit here as a DevOps engineer, and you can manage tens and hundreds of servers of your organization using Ansible. You can create playbooks, you can create automations, you can create templates, role-based accesses, and a lot of things in Ansible. Now, infrastructure as code, as interesting it sounds, it is more interesting when you do hands-on, and all hands-on will be done in the upcoming sessions on YouTube as well as TrainWithShubham.com. So TrainWithShubham.com will generally have live classes. Okay. Yeah. If you talk about monitoring, so DevOps is often confused with SRE, which is Site Reliability Engineer. In Google, you would have seen that there is no position as DevOps engineer. They have platform engineers or site reliability engineers. So these site reliability engineers have dashboards, have metrics, have visualizations that allows them to monitor their system. And that's why monitoring is very important if you want to graduate as a better DevOps engineer. So if you take about the career roadmap of a DevOps engineer, at some point of time, he or she might look for some SRE roles as well. And that time monitoring is very important. And 3 things which I would suggest for monitoring is Grafana, that gives you amazing dashboards, Prometheus, that allows you to do metrics, observability, and ELK Stack, that is a one-shot solution for all of your Elastic Logstash Kibana, which means storage of data, storage of logs, and Kibana dashboard. Everything can be available if you learn these skills. So ELK, Elastic Logstash, Kibana dashboards. So in a single tool, you can get, a lot of things. Prometheus, generally metrics, alerting, we generally use for Prometheus. When it comes to Grafana, there's a new tool called K6, which is used for load testing. So when you do load testing, you can create dashboards, visualization. You can have the monitoring of your APIs, the metrics calculation, the visualization of your applications. So very interesting tools. So monitoring is something that you should definitely check out as you grow as a DevOps engineer. Now, if I become a DevOps engineer of, let's say, 3 years, so next what? What should be the next thing? So MLOps is not for beginners. Again, just like India is not for beginners, so MLOps is not for beginners. Generally, you should be mastering tools like Kubeflow, MLflow. But if you're a seasoned DevOps engineer, MLOps is something that you should be looking forward to. The speed at which AI is growing, ML is growing, you should definitely see how MLOps tools work. Now comes the real world test, which is once you learn these things, monitoring, infrastructure, CI/CD, containers, and so on. Once you learn all these things, then what? Then the real world test happens and you have to create your LinkedIn profile. You have to manage your LinkedIn score, profile optimization you have to do. You have to do posting, commenting, networking, and so many cool stuff. You have to do all these things. Okay, all these things will be again covered live in batches. How to create a LinkedIn profile, how to optimize your profile, how to improve your score, how to post, comment, network, how to create a resume. Your resume is your real world test. If you have a poor resume, all these tools that you learned goes to waste. So that's why the resume should be ATS friendly. What is ATS? Application tracking system. This application tracking system will help you to help the HRs to shortlist your resume or to reject your resume. So that's why you should be making a ATS friendly resume. What did you think? That HR will actually see your resume? No HR will ever see your resume in the first go. It goes through ATS, scans, and then it is shortlisted or rejected. Okay. So keywords, projects, best practices should be included in your resume. As a person who is a trainer, who is a community builder, not a YouTuber, but now I have more than 1 lakh subscribers. So maybe I can call myself YouTuber, let's see. But if you are someone who talks in public, who learns in public, who has a community, who has people who look up to you, then you should be someone who should definitely attend events, meetups, challenges, hackathons. You should, whatever you're learning, post it in public, and that's when you become a part of community. So community is something that you should definitely look forward to. Now, generative AI tools as ChatGPT, Gemini, DALL-E grows. So no one is now doing a Stack Overflow search or a Google search. Everyone is checking on ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. So in today's market for DevOps engineers, using generative AI tools is also important. And this, my friend, was the roadmap that I would have used if I was a beginner and I wanted to become a DevOps engineer. So finally, this roadmap, which was looking very colorful in the beginning, I hope it gives you a lot of interest to pursue DevOps engineering. DevOps is an amazing, field to be in. It has endless opportunities, and I myself have, been in this industry for a long time, and I continue being in that industry. I've seen hundreds of placements happening in DevOps. It's also good for freshers. It's also good for experienced people, anyone who is switching from support background to DevOps, anyone who's switching from testing to DevOps, development to DevOps. This is a very promising field. So I hope in this video you got a good understanding of how DevOps roadmap you would follow in order to become a DevOps engineer in 2025. So if you take all these things roughly, if it would take you 3 to 6 months if you roughly practice this every day. Now, thanks to all these batches that I do, you can, reduce this time to 3 months. All these things can be covered in 3 months. So I will be starting a new batch, which is English batch for DevOps engineers. The Hindi batch will be starting next year. So this is the short update from my side. I hope you like the video. All the links for the roadmaps, resources, everything is in the description. So do check it out, and I will see you all in the next video. So thanks for watching till here. Keep watching Train with Shubham channel. Ending the video in 3, 2, 1. Bye.